You're listening to the TV Obsessive channel, presented by TVObsessive.com.
Okay, we are back here on the TV Obsessive podcast for a special supplemental episode 111, with Ryan Kirksey and Cameron Crane again to talk about episode 9 of Murderbot on Apple TV Plus. This episode titled All Systems Red, written by Paul Weitz and Chris Weitz and directed by Roseanne Lang. In episode 9 of Murderbot, the Prezox team and Murderbot come up with a plan to try and outsmart the Grey Chris group to get the beacon up in the air so they can contact people and get off planet, despite the low probability that this plan will succeed. Murderbot lied to them, however, about the real plan because it knew Prezox would not approve. Murderbot confronts Grey Chris, and the Grey Chris team attempts to take over its governor module, and it fails because Murderbot does not have one. It convinces them it killed a member of its own team. Murderbot gets them to open their beacon channel while Garathan and Penlee launch a drone that hacks into that system and gets the codes that Prezox needs to escape. Murderbot takes Grey Chris to the launch pad, where it knows that the Grey Chris group will be killed by the blast of their beacon if they are there when it goes off. When that plan also fails, Murderbot tries to engage them in conversation so Grathan and Penlee can launch the beacon. Dr. Mensa shows up, tries to negotiate, but Murderbot's quoting TV shows gives away their intentions. The beacon does finally launch, and Murderbot grabs Dr. Mensa and jumps off a cliff to save her, leaving us only the finale left on a literal cliffhanger. We have one episode left. I don't know, the humanness of Murderbot kind of got in the way a little bit of some of the plans that it had here. But I don't know, thoughts on this ninth episode before we head into the finale.
Yeah, well, I mean, I enjoyed the episode a lot, first of all. Um, it is, I think, probably the climax of the season, right? I mean, I don't know what's
Yeah.
going to happen next week. Next week's the season finale, but it definitely feels like structurally, this is the climax. That will be the denouement, as it were,
Yes. Yes.
and probably set up what maybe comes later. At least that's my expectation. Who knows? Where we're left is with the idea that they have set off an emergency beacon. So they're going to get off the planet, I guess.
Right.
But maybe something else will happen next week. I don't know. But, with this one, mostly I thought it was, I mean, action packed, fun, funny.
Yeah.
And then I don't know how much there is to dig into here, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, I did think all of the above. I thought this was a quite a funny episode. The sort of narratives from Murderbot that were great. I thought the rolling head of the sec unit that the Murderbot, tries to convince them is a member of his own team was great. And then yeah, good, interesting action and set pieces here. A lot in this. This weird to think that a 28, 29-minute episode is sort of a supersized episode for Murderbot, but did cover a lot of bases that, yeah, I'm not real sure where we'll go in the finale, but sure that Murderbot has survived this fall and will somehow be able to reconnect with his team.
Right. I mean, you got to figure that the title character of the show has plot armor.
Yeah, right.
So somehow, even if Murderbot is quote unquote dead for the moment, that somehow it will get fixed. That was one of my questions coming out of the episode is, okay, well, if I presume that, who's going to fix it? Can Garathan fix it? Will Garathan fix it? Is it going to be like take it back to the habitat and put it in its repair module thing and it gets fixed up, you
Yeah.
know? Or um, could it possibly be no, the corporation comes and gets them off the planet, reclaims its sec unit, and then things go in another direction. I
Yeah.
really don't know where this story goes after season one,
Yeah, that
right?
that that's a great point. I have no concept of it either. There's some sort of mini narratives that I'd like to see throughout the last episode. And again, you and I have not read these books. I don't know if this is more anthology, if this is sort of a narrative story arc of one sec unit character. I presume that it is. So yeah, not sure what they would do with a second season.
Right. I mean, like, yeah, again, we haven't read the books, so we don't know. But I could imagine it's a possibility that all of our Preservation Alliance friends aren't in the show after
That's
season
right.
one.
That's right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Um, And it's weird because at this point, I I'd miss them, right? I don't want those characters to go away. So
Yeah.
I kind of hope that that isn't where it goes. But if I mean if that's where it goes in the source material, then
Yeah.
maybe
I'll
that'll
be curious
be
to know, speaking of those characters, we saw a lot of them reacting to the knowledge that Murderbot lied about its plan and tried to enact something that it didn't tell them it was going to do. We have not seen really any reaction to, oh, it had this different plan and it worked, and Gray Chris is presumably dead, and he presumably has saved Dr. Mensa. So, what is the reaction to it, knowing that it had this idea that worked, even though we weren't aware of what it was going to be at the beginning?
yeah. Um, I mean, I guess probably we'll get some of that next week.
I would think so. Yeah.
But it's interesting how I think why does Murderbot lie to them? I think there are two levels almost, right? Because the first part is just that they wouldn't really be on board with the idea of using a severed head and pretending that you
Yeah.
killed a member of the group. And but maybe, I mean, maybe you could have gotten him around on that part
Yes.
rationally, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting that in a meaningful way, I feel like Murderbot lies to them about that part
Yes.
just to avoid the messiness of the interactions of trying to convince them that this is how it should go, that this is the best plan, or that this is part of the plan.
Right.
Nah, I'm just going to do it,
Just do it.
right?
Yeah.
Instead of telling them about that part. But then the other part that it lies to them about or hides from them is that its plan involves killing all the Grey Chris people
Hmm.
with the launch of the emergency beacon, which is something that the Prezzox folks would have more of a moral objection to, right?
Yeah.
And we even see Mensa ultimately thinking, um, there is another way, we can talk about it.
Always trying to find that way. And this group does not seem to want to come to grips with the fact that these people are trying to kill them. This group has killed other people, and it may be the only solution. This may be an us versus them situation. Murderbot seems to grasp that. They do not.
Yeah, and that's one of the moments of humor, right? When Mensa
Yeah.
does come and wants to talk about it, and we can just make a deal, and no need for violence, and the response from the Great Chris leader is like, "Nah, we'll just torture it out of you."
Yeah. Yeah. I live for gleeful torture, according to Murderbot. Yes.
Right. Which I think that's the point when they realize that he's quoting Sanctuary Moon.
Yes. Yes.
Um, so lots of stuff like that that's entertaining. But yeah, I mean, to circle back around to your question, I guess ultimately it does become clear that the only way to get away from the Great Chris people was to kill them.
Right.
So Murderbot's plan worked, I think, right?
Right.
Well, I think all the Great Chris members are dead, and I think their advanced tech units are all dead or
Yeah.
destroyed.
We
I
saw that
think.
thing launch. We didn't see anybody burned to a crisp or anything, but we saw it launch.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, there's definitely the narrative space if the story wants one of them or to have survived, that they could have survived, right?
Correct.
But I don't get the feeling that's where we're going. I don't know where we're going in the season finale,
I don't
because
either. I don't either. You could have convinced me that this was with one more conversation at the end, perhaps one more gathering of the Prezox group, that this could have been a series finale. So I'm not sure what they do in episode 10.
yeah, just tack on a couple more minutes of them, fixing Murderbot and getting picked up by a spaceship,
Yeah, yeah,
or getting picked up. You don't even have to have Murderbot be fixed, depending on where the story goes, right?
that's right.
But I think they've told us before that it's gonna, like, maybe it takes a couple days before the ship will arrive after they've
Yeah,
launched the beacon.
yeah.
I think they said something like that before. Maybe even said 3 days. I'm not sure. So I presume they'll go back to the habitat. We'll have some discussion amongst members of the group about what's happened and their feelings about Murderbot and all of that. Um, and we'll see where it goes from there. plot wise. One of the questions I had that might be worth talking about a little bit is that at the very end, Murderbot says something like, "My clients are the best clients."
Yes.
So that's my question is, Murderbot
Does,
come around to liking the hippies.
I think that he has come around to understanding them, and can it empathize with humans yet? I'm not real sure that it can, but it understands what they are trying to do. It understands the reasons behind what they're trying to do. And I think in the end, it realizes that they were doing its best to try to protect it. And while that didn't always they didn't always follow what he wanted them to do, what it wanted them to do, um, they seem to have Murderbot's best intentions usually, even if it was opposite of his plans.
Yeah. I just think it's interesting because, one of the questions we've grappled with all season long is whether to what extent Murderbot has emotions and all of that. And I think it's
Hmm.
pretty clear that there's definitely a level at which, yes, Murderbot does have emotions or feelings or what have you, and that's coming out here. I mean, also with the I'm going to shield Mensa from this fall with my own body
Hmm.
um, as a part of that, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
that murder bot, and it goes back further than that too, because the plan is to launch the beacon and have the beacon kill Grey Chris, but then Grey Chris insists that Murderbot comes along,
Hmm.
and so Murderbot makes the inference that it's going to die too, and more or less accepts that,
Yeah.
right? So we're seeing a lot in this episode that Murderbot is moving in the direction of its own free will, precisely being willing to sacrifice itself in order to save its friends.
I think that it makes that decision, yeah, as you said, several times in this episode, with going with the Gregor's team, with going with Mensa, with saying, I will go on this mission and act this plan by myself. You go off and do the other things or stay back here at the habitat. It's for, I guess, lack of a better term, developing a sense of camaraderie and sympathy for these folks and wanting to protect them.
Yeah, I think so. So,
Yeah.
my hope definitely is as we move beyond season one. I mean, well, first of all, I guess we have to hope that the show gets renewed and that they make a season two. Um, I find myself thinking they probably will. I'll be a
Yeah.
little surprised if they don't. I mean, the show's gotten really good reviews, and
It has gotten
at
great
least
reviews.
from critics and such. Um, I was going to say that then I hope that the other characters stick around as well. That this kind of is the team, but
Yes.
we'll see. One thing I've seen various people on social media say is that they feel like the episodes are too short.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
I have frankly not minded at all the length of these episodes. Sometimes I think you and I have discussed sort of what is the plot and where's the plot of this show, and I think that any more length, unless it was just really filled with some very interesting, more philosophical debates about this unit and what these people want to do with it, how they interact with it. I thought that the episodes have been the right length, frankly. I wouldn't have added much, if anything.
Yeah, I agree. I just find it to be an odd complaint. It's not, to be clear, it's not something that I'm seeing from like a critic who's written a review of the show.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
something where I've just seen multiple people kind of complaining in blue sky comments or something,
Hmm.
just saying like
Yeah.
it's and like they'll often note that they think it's an odd complaint. They're like it feels kind of weird, but these episodes need to be
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah.
or um and I don't know. I don't I guess I don't agree, and maybe there's not much more to say than that. Um, but it's interesting. I mean, they have been releasing one a week, and is that part of it? Is it simply a matter of saying oh, I enjoy this show, but I'm not getting enough each
Not
week.
not getting enough. Yeah. I mean, there are very few streaming shows now that are 22, 23 minutes per episode. Yeah, you drag that over 10 weeks. Yeah, I can see the sense of wanting more. I just think narratively it would have added things that don't need to be there.
Yeah. I think I agree. I think this one is a little bit longer. It might get up to like 29 minutes. Ooh,
Yes, yes.
super episode. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe, I could well imagine enjoying the experience of binging the show after it's all
Hmm.
out. And so maybe there'll be that kind of second wave of people who discover it and then binge it, and then
Yep. Yep.
they won't have that complaint because they can just put on the next episode right away or something like that.
I think that's right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, I think mostly the length is good, it's tight, and yeah. Let's see. Looking at our notes, we should talk about this. That moment when Murderbot's fighting the advanced sec unit and like streams a bunch of television at it.
Yeah.
I don't know what do we say
It's
about this?
like
It seems to
that's like
work.
a bug of the sec units that you can just distract it with television shows or feed it an entertainment algorithm and it's going to it's going to lose its mission. It seems like Murderbot was able to just completely dominate, destroy the thing after it started pumping television shows into this other sec unit's I don't know what the
Yeah, like
processing unit or what lack of a better term. I'm not sure what it is.
it makes it short out or something.
Right, right, exactly.
If this tactic is as effective as it seems to be in this episode,
Yeah,
Murderbot may have found its new secret weapon, and this might be really important
that's
to
right.
where we go moving forward, right? Because in fighting these more advanced sec units in the past, it's been a bit of an issue, right? They're
What is
better
it?
than
He's
Murderbot is.
he says he's gotten his
So
ass kicked twice by them already, and so but now maybe he's found the defense mechanism again. Yeah, maybe this is a bug of all sec units that they can be easily distracted by some Sanctuary Moon episodes.
yeah, he just pumped him full of Sanctuary Moon, and it was like, it does not compute. Um, so yeah, and that could be really important to where we're going. I mean, that's one of the big things about this show, and one of the big sources of humor is the fact that really Murderbot just wants to watch TV and be left alone. But
Yeah,
that's not going to happen. Clearly, we're going to get sucked into further drama and conflict, and
right, right.
really curious to see what happens in the season finale next week, where that leaves us. And yeah, hopefully the show will be renewed
Yeah. Just a
quickly.
quick glance shows that there are seven books and two short stories of which to draw material from. Actually, book one is titled All Systems Red, the same as this episode. So
Yeah, I
plenty of
noticed that.
material there if they want to continue.
Yeah, and I hope they will. Anything else you want to say about this one?
I think I'm good.
All right, then we'll leave it there. Thanks as always for listening. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please do leave a good rating, review, all of that good stuff. If you're on YouTube, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Um, we are, we did adjust our schedule a little bit this week. So if you're listening to our regular podcast feed, this episode's just the Murderbot stuff. Um, because happy 4th of July. We're recording this a little bit early, but it will be out on the 4th of July for you. And yeah, check out tvobsessive.com. I've been writing on Murderbot week to week. If you want to read written recaps, you can also find written work on any number of other TV shows there. You can follow the site on social media. If you search for TV Obsessive, you should be able to find us. Give us a follow. And we'll be back with you next week to talk about the season finale of Murderbot.
Yep. Looking forward to that and see you then.